Would it make you a jerk if you didn't share free food that you were given with others? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for telling my mom's husband he could try growing up and not being such a jerk? My mom has a messy history, and gave me a very messy history as a result. Background on my mom, she was married for over 11 years. They had trouble having kids. Turned out the husband had a very low sperm count. I think that's the right terminology. They tried IVF and other fertility help, but my mom couldn't get pregnant. They were depressed. Her husband didn't want to use donor sperm to have a kid. He didn't want to raise a child not genetically his. So my mom decided she would find a donor behind his back. AKA, she cheated on him with guys that apparently looked enough like him so she could pass the kid off as his. She confided in her sister, my aunt. It was 3 guys, one night stands with each. All of them had the same physical characteristics of the husband. He was overjoyed when she got pregnant, and then my aunt told him the truth. He'd had doubts but felt bad about accusing her of cheating, but hearing it was enough for him to say he wanted no part of this. They did a DNA anyway because there was a chance it was his, but it wasn't, and he divorced my mom and didn't take any kind of role in my life. My mom never got over her ex. She's loved him all this time and I'm 17 now. I've met her ex. She set up these circumstances for him to see us in the hopes that he would fall in love with me. But he never wanted any part of it, and then he got married again and actually had a bio kid, apparently confirmed with DNA. Then when I was 11, my mom got remarried. She doesn't love her husband. I'm not even sure she really likes him. She's trying to get over her ex. Her husband knows this. He also knows she slept around to have me, and he hates it, and I get the brunt of it. He's always such a jerk to me. He acts like I wanted to meet mom's ex and be paraded in front of him like some sort of doll. He gets annoyed when I ask my mom for any info on the guy she slept with. I would like to know who my bio father is. He gets annoyed that my mom put her ex on my birth certificate. He hates that I have ex's last name. He brings these things up so much, as well as telling me I should be nicer to mom because when she mentions her ex, I tell her she should get past it. Mom's husband was in such a bad mood Friday because my mom found out her ex and his wife and kid moved away. He told me that I should change my name and birth certificate now and stop holding on to some random guy's info. I told him I'm 17. That's not something I can change yet, it's up to his wife. He told me I'm always so difficult and always rubbing his face in crap. He told me I could try being more understanding. I told him he could try growing up and not being such a jerk to me when I don't have control over crap my mom does or has done in the past. He told me I have no right to speak to him, an adult, like that. Am I the jerk? I think just about anybody who hears this story is going to say OP's not the jerk, I would hope. I just don't understand what OP's done wrong. They're complaining that OP has the last name and somebody on their birth certificate of somebody they've almost hardly even known. It's not like OP's had any say in any of that happening. I mean, this guy is so insecure it hurts. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for acting rude when I asked my stepdad why he came into my room at 11 p.m. unannounced? Just got my nightly jam session interrupted by my stepdad, and I asked why he came in my room in the first place, and had the nerve to get all offended as if he wasn't the one who randomly decided to just walk in right when I had headphones. Like, what do you mean, watch how you ask questions? Like, all I was asking was why he came in the first place. He said he came in to just see if I was freaking up. Like, freaking up what? The weird part is he never does this, like, at all. So I don't see the reason he walked in my room uninvited and got mad when I asked a question. Am I the jerk? This is just like classic violation of privacy. From the way he acted and also the things he blatantly said, he barged into your room almost kind of hoping to see something he really shouldn't be trying to see. This is the kind of thing that would make me, if I were in OP's shoes, at least for the short term, start locking my door whenever I'm in my room. And then this is the point where OP clarifies something like, oh, I'm not allowed to have a lock on my door, right? Lindariex wrote, not the jerk. Have a talk with your stepdad and set boundaries. The sooner the better. The same thing happened to me with my parents because they simply didn't understand the importance of knocking the door. But I explained to them and everything was fine. Our next story is, am I the jerk for leaving my husband at home with our kids after we blew off our anniversary? I, 37-year-old female, am married to 38-year-old male. Our 10-year anniversary was last Friday. I took the day off of work to hopefully spend time with him, but it didn't happen. I knew my husband had the day off too since he had taken call the day before. On our anniversary, when I woke up, I saw my gift on my end table. It wasn't wrapped, but I really did like the gift, so I didn't take issue. After I dropped our kids, 8-year-old male and 7-year-old female, off at the bus stop, I went home and made him breakfast. I brought it to him in bed and he was still sleeping. No problem, I just ate it. My husband woke up at around 9, said happy anniversary, went downstairs and made himself breakfast. I asked if he had any plans for the day and he said to relax. I wanted to maybe go to a restaurant or see a movie or at least do something together, just me and him, and he said no. By then I was a bit disheartened, but I took his answer. About 20 minutes later, I just dress up and head out with a warning about right then. I just treated myself to the spa, shopping, and stuff like that. When I got back, 6-ish, he was with our kids, and by the time they went to bed, he brought up the fact that I left and asked why I did so. I told him it was because I wasn't just going to do nothing all day because he wanted to, and that he didn't even care enough to spend time with me, so it wouldn't be an issue that I spent time alone. He went quiet after that, and while we've talked it over since then, I'm posting here to see if my past actions were jerk-like or not. I think as long as OP made a genuine effort on their part, that they're not really the jerk for doing what they did here, but I think that's the important thing to focus on. OP didn't talk about getting them a gift, but they did get a gift regardless. You know, he didn't have plans or ambitions, but OP didn't exactly have anything planned specifically either. I guess I just feel like when it comes to your anniversary, you usually have something planned in advance together, not so much something that on the day of you figure, okay, well, you wanna go watch a movie together? Vinay wrote, everybody sucks here. Your husband is a jerk for saying no when you asked him to do something, and you're a jerk for a few reasons. Where was his gift? Did you get him one? If you made him breakfast while he was sleeping and then ate it, he made his breakfast, that's not a point for you. You didn't communicate at all. You left him on your anniversary alone. If spending time together was really what you were after, you could have done that. You wanted to be spoiled and pampered. This post comes across very, it's my husband's job to plan our anniversary, and it's my job to enjoy it. This next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to share my pen name with my family? Throwaway for obvious reasons. I, female 32, wrote a book during COVID that ultimately got published and is doing okay. Nothing life-changing monetarily, I won't be quitting my day job, but it's something I'm proud of that I never thought I'd accomplish. I published the book under a pen name. My fiancé, his mom, and my best friend have all read the book with my permission, but no one else knows it's my work. My family, parents and older brother, know that I published a book, but I've not shared the title or my pen name with them. They've pushed for the information, but I told them I want to keep it a secret in case I want to write more books under that name. I told them I want to be able to write without thinking, what will mom think when she reads XYZ? They never truly accepted this, and it comes up at every family event. Recently, we were together for dinner and the topic came up again. I wasn't in the best mood and we'd all had a couple of drinks and my brother had been acting like a butt because his wife wasn't there to rein him in. I admitted that the real reason why I wouldn't let them read my book was because when I first tried keeping a diary when I was 6 or 7, my brother, then 9 or 10, would search my room for my diary, find it, and read it. He would mock me for what I'd written. If his name was mentioned, he would get a black marker and scribble it out. When I went to my parents in tears, they told me it was my fault for writing about him and he had a right to read it. They did buy me one of those diaries with a lock for Christmas that year, but then he would just pick the lock or I'd catch him prying the book open and he'd never even get reprimanded. I was treated like a nuisance and a tattletale for bringing it to their attention because he was their precious firstborn prince. He would be emboldened and would continue to torment me. I stopped keeping diaries because it wasn't worth giving him ammunition. They blew up when I revealed this and told me I was being a baby and needed to get over it, and it never even was a big deal. I told them that it basically gave me a complex where I'm overly protective of my writing and I have a hard time sharing it because I feel like I'm going to be mocked and ridiculed for it. They told me I was being so dramatic and that I always do this. Am I the jerk for refusing to share my pen name with them? Edit to add, thank you for the kind comments. Some people have asked for the title of my book, but I really don't feel comfortable doing so, especially since this has gotten way more attention than I anticipated. I appreciate the love and support. I don't think OP's the jerk here. Really, I don't think it's necessarily about the diary situation in general. It's about the fact that they violated your trust repeatedly, and understandably so, you now feel so protective over what you do now that you don't want the same bullies to pry open your latest writing and scrutinize it the way they did, giving you emotional baggage as a kid. Resolute Muse wrote, "Not the jerk?" And I would go one step further. I wrote about you, bro, and I don't want you scribbling out your name in my book. Compensatory Pause added, "Ooh, this here OP, I like it." Give him his own complex. Drop hints about him being a character who is or involved in XYZ. Insert something he would be insecure about. Then update us in petty revenge. Please. Also, not the jerk for me. Your parents sound pretty useless in the face of Golden Boy, and you can tell them a stranger on the internet said so. This next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to make a packed lunch for my sister-in-law, even though we work together? I, 25-year-old female, make my own lunch for work. My husband and I both meal prep and we get stuff ready in advance to make it less bothersome, but also to help us balance stuff out. We each found lunch combos we love and that work for us throughout our workday. I work with my husband's sister-in-law, 37-year-old female. She buys her lunch every day and only occasionally brought a packed lunch in. In the past, she's expressed jealousy about my lunch and has commented that she'd be paying $20 to buy what I bring in. I pointed out to her once that she could always batch cook and meal prep and save herself money, but she was dismissive and told me it's easy for me to say because I don't have children, which is true. A couple of weeks back, my sister-in-law approached me at lunch and asked me to give it to her. She told me she didn't have the money to pay for a lunch. I told her I couldn't just give her my lunch, but offered to share a little. She then decided to tell me about her and her husband's money worries and how stressful it's been for them. She then told me that I should help her and make her a packed lunch for work since we're in the same office. I was really shocked. She was basically telling me I had to feed her, and for free, every day at work. I told her I wasn't going to do that, and I was sorry they were struggling. My husband was equally as shocked when I got home and told him. He told me to ignore her and she can figure it out, but she brought it up repeatedly that week, and then last week she brought nothing in, including no money. So she had no food for lunch, and I refused to share with her again or make lunch for her. This led to her complaining outside of work about how much of a bench I am. My husband called her entitled and told her to go make her own dang lunch instead of demanding things from me. She told me I was acting like a food snob, hoarding my precious lunches, when it would be so generous and good-natured of me to feed her too. Am I the jerk? OP's definitely not the jerk in my eyes. Maybe they could have done something if they offered to pay for the ingredients to do the batch thing for them. But even then, doing double the meal prep and considering the husband's also doing meal prep for themselves, it's understandable that very few people are going to want to take up that work, even if they're going to make like the smallest extra bit of profit off of it. Her getting snippy and calling OP a food snob and a bench just confirms that OP definitely made the right choice. Lady Chris wrote, "My guess is the brother-in-law had a come-to-Jesus meeting with the sister-in-law about how much she was spending on lunches. $20 per day, 5 days a week is $100. He most likely told her she couldn't spend that kind of money anymore because of their financial situation. Rather than pull up her big girl panties and alter her behavior, i.e. meal prep, she decided to become a pariah and try to guilt OP into doing it for her. Pure guess on my part based on OP's description of sister-in-law's behavior. OP is not the jerk, but the sister-in-law needs to buckle up, because her buttercup world is going to be continually rocked if she keeps up." OP responded saying, "I don't think it came from him because my husband said he's just as bad, if not worse, and spends a ton on lunches a week himself. Our best guess is they legit can't make it work anymore." Our next story is, am I the jerk for not allowing my brother to bring a random Grindr hookup as his +1 at my wedding? I, 27-year-old female, am gonna get married to my fiance, 29-year-old male, in July. Initially, I invited both my brother, 23-year-old male, and his long-term girlfriend of 3 years to our wedding. However, my brother broke up with her last month, and a couple of days ago, he requested me to let him bring another +1 to my wedding in order to replace his ex that wasn't coming anymore. I asked him who he was planning to bring, and he said that he wanted to bring a guy he met recently on Grindr with whom he got along great. I told him that I don't want him to bring a random hookup to my wedding because we're planning for a rather small ceremony with only our families and close friends. The reason I invited my brother's ex was because she was a long-term girlfriend. which obviously isn't the case with this hookup. However, my brother twisted the truth and started accusing us of being homophobic for previously allowing him to bring a woman as his +1, but not a man, and even contacted some of my and my fiance's friends that are LGBTQ+ to stir up drama and turn them against us. While some of them believed us, we've also had a couple of friends saying they're gonna drop out from our wedding because of what my brother told them. Not to mention that now he started stirring up drama with my family as well. Am I the jerk? I feel like I was responsible in valuing a long-term girlfriend and a random hookup from Grindr differently, especially when I still wouldn't have allowed my brother to bring a hookup to my wedding even if it was a woman instead. However, I'm getting tired of getting called a homophobe bridezilla over this decision. Am I the jerk? OP's definitely not the jerk here, and considering his tirade, I think it might just be for the best leave him out of the party. I would go to his face and say, listen, you went around and made such a big stink to try to bully me. You may have forever altered some of my friendships over these lies. Why would I ever try to continue to associate with you? Why would I want you there after what you did? I would look him in the eyes and tell him, I hope in time you would come to realize how terrible you were to me in this situation. Hopefully when you come to realize that, the person you met on Grindr will still be around to console you. Let's Play Dr. Ben wrote, I'm a gay man. Your brother is making a false accusation of homophobia, and that is infuriating given the actual homophobia that so many people face. Rescind his invitation, not the jerk. Our next story is, am I the jerk for buying my girlfriend a gift she didn't need? My 19-year-old male, girlfriend 20-year-old female, recently celebrated her birthday, and I made the trip to her place. We live pretty far apart since we're on summer from school, but during the school year, she always asks to borrow my Nespresso coffee maker. I'm always happy to oblige, but I thought that it would be a nice gift to get her one of her own. I bought one of the newer models and even paid extra to get it in a color she liked, bought a bunch of the pods for it, and got her a latte making kit. I gave her the gift at her place and she was super curt about it, nothing more than a thanks with a kiss on the cheek. When I asked what was wrong in private later, she said that she didn't see why it was such a big deal that she used mine, or why I felt the need to buy a new one of something she could already get. I tried to apologize and explain that I was just genuinely trying to be thoughtful, but she wasn't having it and we went to sleep. Am I the jerk? OP's not the jerk. They got a really thoughtful gift. The reality is they live a ways apart. They're not always there, so it's not like she can be over all the time. My rebuttal would be like, well, I wanted to get you your own so you can have it whenever you want and think of me. I especially don't understand why she's attacking this from an angle of, well, I could have gotten it myself. I feel like that's kind of a weird mindset that maybe is indicative of something greater going on in her life, something that may influence her to feel that way about getting gifts in general. Cats, Birds, Horses wrote, not the jerk, but she is. You got her a gift based on your knowledge of her likes and tastes, which is indeed a good, thoughtful thing to do. But she seems to have been expecting something more romantic or more expensive, most likely both. So she treats you coldly to punish you for failing to read her mind. If this is typical of how she behaves, you might want to consider how much you really like this person. This next story is, am I the jerk for not helping my parents with my brother anymore? I, 18-year-old male, moved out of my parents' house 5 weeks ago when I turned 18. My reason for moving out so fast is because they had me helping a lot with my younger brother, 14, who is autistic and nonverbal. It was a lot, and I resent having my life revolve around him so much before. Looking after him is a full-time job and they expected me to sign up for a part-time job in it so they could get a break instead of going through the proper channels and taking advantage of respite care and other things that could give us all a break and allow them to spend some time with me. My brother can have these silent breakdowns, as I call them, where he can't or won't walk and needs to be held and carried around. My parents had me doing that for years, and sometimes I was the only person he would settle for, and then I'd have him in my arms for ages. They used to give me some freedom, but took that away when they realized they might need me during those moments of freedom. They pulled me out of birthday parties to help with my brother before. They pulled me out of tutoring after school because they knew it was an actual school that I had to attend. They actually pulled me out of a class a few times to settle my brother. I wanted out, and I left as soon as I could. My boyfriend's parents took me in, and I haven't gone to my parents' house since. I stopped taking their calls or responding to their texts. But they are ticked because 3 different times since I left, They asked me via text to help with my brother, and I ignored them. They keep texting that I should be ashamed. What kind of a brother and son am I? How could I leave them to do it themselves, and what about my brother who misses me? They even sent me a few videos of my brother crying, and they said he was missing me and crying for me. Am I the jerk? OP is 1,000,000% not the jerk, and honestly, I think all OP should say, if they say anything, is them sending all of this stuff, shaming them, sending these videos of the brother crying. All that's doing is helping OP confirm that they were absolutely right in getting out of there, and the more they do that, the more OP's probably going to only look for more space. It's completely understandable that OP wants to live their life, not instead being leashed and having to be a parent for the rest of their lives. ND Winsey wrote, "Not the jerk. You deserve to be your own person. You deserve attention and affection, not being the one who constantly provides it. Your parents should not bully or guilt trip you, but appreciate you and give you a big hug for how much you've contributed already at such a young age. You've done enough, and now you need to live your own life. Your brother is your parent's son, and he is their responsibility." Heavy Sand 5228 added, "They also should not have continually dumped their parental responsibilities on their other child, especially to the point where they didn't really let him have his own life. They are massive jerks, and while they should apologize to OP, I'm not expecting that in the slightest." Our next story is, am I the jerk for not giving someone else a free bag of food I'd just been gifted? Me and my boyfriend were sat on a bench in our university campus. A couple of bakery workers came up to us and explained they were closing and did we want some of the leftover food for free. If you're in the UK and familiar with the Too Good To Go scheme, then I believe it was a part of that, and the bag just hadn't been claimed. More context below. Of course, being given free food in this economy felt like we'd hit the jackpot, and in the bag was around 3 pastry items and 3 or 4 sandwiches. We remained sat for 5 to 10 more minutes before setting back off to our accommodation. A few minutes later, a guy sees us walking across campus carrying our bag of food and runs after us asking if we work at the bakery. I guess since the bag was clearly labeled with a bakery name. I replied that no, we were just students and the bakery had unfortunately just closed 10 minutes previously. He became standoffish and insinuated that we had taken one of his bags that he reserved. I replied that I was sorry we couldn't help him, but again, we were just students and had nothing to do with this bakery. We had just been given it from a worker. Stupidly, I hadn't actually really processed at this time that we likely had indeed been given one of the bags he reserved since he was too late to pick them up. He proceeded to storm off, shouting back at us that we're bad people for not giving it to him because he was going to feed the homeless with that food. After hearing this, my boyfriend asked me if we should just go after him and give him our bag, and I replied no. In the moment, I felt pretty hurt at his aggressive nature towards us. It's been about an hour now, and I've been plagued by guilt surrounding it. I would never want to take away from a charitable cause, and I've really been beating myself up over it. I was just hurt in the moment. Am I the jerk? I'm curious to hear what others may have done in the same situation. Context: Too Good To Go is a scheme where members of the public can reserve bags of food from various stores online to stop the food from going to waste. They will pick the items up in the last hour or so of the store closing. If OP wanted that food, they're clearly not the jerk. The worker came up and essentially said, "We're closing." The guy did a no-show. "Do you want this free food?" If it really was going to a charitable cause, that is quite the shame that that guy didn't show up to get the food. I don't think it's fair now that they were late to try to take it out of somebody else's mouth that, from at least what it sounds like, can really use the food. Plus, it's not like this person actually paid for that bag. Divinanity wrote, "Not the jerk. The food was the bakery's to give and they gave it to you. Even if this guy had reserved it, he failed to get there in time, so forfeited it. You have no way to verify his story and have a genuine need for it yourself. Enjoy it guilt-free." This next story is, am I the jerk for enlisting in the military instead of thinking of my girlfriend? I moved from South Korea when I was 12, now 18, so I still have citizenship and I have to go back to Korea to do my mandatory military service eventually. In simple ways of saying it, in South Korea you can do your military service from when you're 18 to 28 to 29. Some people choose to enlist later and some people do it earlier. You serve for 2 years and then you can do whatever. I decided that I wanted to get it over with and do it before I went to college, so very soon, so that I don't have to worry about it after that. When I told my girlfriend, Korean as well, but American, she got angry and told me to consider other people before I did. We got into a fight and she called me a jerk for abandoning her and choosing to leave her just when we were about to start college. She wants me to defer to at least until we finish college. Maybe I'm in the wrong because I did think that she would just support me in my decision, but I honestly think that since this is my life, I should be allowed to make my own decisions. Am I the jerk? More info, I did talk to her about it before, but I don't think either of us put a lot of thought into the conversation. I admit I should have talked to her about it though. We've been dating for 6 months. So I think at this point in OP's life, it's especially incredibly valuable time. If OP wants this shift in their life and to go and get their military service done, absolutely I think that's the right decision for them. If that means it's the end of this relationship, especially if it just doesn't work for that partner or they don't want to support you in it, I think it's probably for the best that it ends. Most people in a relationship at 18, they don't have that relationship last forever regardless. I think the important bottom line here is what you want for your future, and not at 18 years old allowing somebody else to make your future decision for you. Away Refuse 8493 wrote, "Not the jerk. You're 18. This is typically what happens at 18. It's likely your first serious relationship, and while a few go the distance, people at your age choose different paths in life. In your case, this military service is mandatory unless you want to drop your citizenship. I agree. Better now than in 10 years. Here's the deal. There is a huge amount of truth to, if you love it, let it go. Your girlfriend is immature, but at least that's because both have limited life experience. I'm sure that's mostly it. But your lives will change at college. You will grow into the next version of yourself. You did not enter this relationship as adults. She is not your wife. At no point until you complete this military service will you be ready to make a commitment to anyone. Let's say you break up the first semester of college. Anyone, 95% chance based on observation, you will be so mad and full of regret. Go do it. She's wrong, and in 5 or 10 years we'll understand she is wrong. If she keeps fighting you, then she's miss-wrong. The only way she should be miss-right is if she had the maturity most 18-year-olds do not and let you go. This next story is, am I the jerk for kicking my son out of my house after he said bad things about me to his friends? I, 40-year-old male, have a son, 18-year-old male, who was accepted to college. I was very happy because I didn't have that opportunity. I dropped out of school to help my family of 8 siblings. Today, I work in a managerial position without a diploma. When my son got accepted, I asked him to gather the necessary documents for his college registration. Since I'm not tech savvy, I asked an employee to help with the registration. My son kept making excuses about the documents, saying some could only be obtained online. On the last day for registration, he gave me the documents, but the college website wouldn't accept the login credentials. I tried calling him, but he didn't answer. When I got home, he confessed he hadn't been accepted and had lied to me out of fear. I felt deeply disappointed. I had been telling everyone about his acceptance and working overtime to buy him a car as a gift. In anger, I told him he was a disappointment, which I regret. The next day, I wanted to apologize and discuss his future options, but he was out with friends. I used our shared computer and found a conversation where he and his friends insulted me and called his friends his real family. It seems like he left the computer on for me to see. When he got home, I yelled at him and told him he had until the end of the year to get a job and move out. He cried, saying I was overreacting, but I stood firm. Now, his grandparents are urging me to change my mind, but I feel justified. I've always tried to be a good father, and this betrayal hurts deeply. So, am I the jerk? The bottom line here is, yes, while he lied, and it was a pretty big lie, OP got flustered, angry, and in an argument to their face, told them, "You are a disappointment." Your parent getting worked up and telling you that to your face is something that most likely will stick with you forever. So for him to turn around and talk to his friends, which understandably are probably very supportive, albeit online or distant, he's going to be feeling some type of way, so like it's kind of a shocked Pikachu face for OP to call their kid to their face a disappointment and then get shocked that they don't think they're a particularly great parent. Sin6y wrote, "You're the jerk? Don't ask later on, why doesn't my son talk to me anymore? This is the reason. If my child ever told me she was scared to tell me something, I'd be falling over myself trying to make it up to her, not kick her out. You betrayed the love your son has or had for you. Do better as a dad. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.